Hello everyone, welcome to the Radiance Hub YouTube channel. As we were talking of pre-Raphaelites yesterday, today we will move ahead in the subsection of that pre-Raphaelite movement. Yesterday we discussed the Blessed Damsel by D.G. Rossetti. Today we will take another poem by Christina Rossetti, D.G. Rossetti's sister, and obviously one more important poet from pre-Raphaelites group. Today we will talk about the famous narrative poem Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti. As you may see, in the left side we are having a picture of two sisters lying together in the bed, and in the right side we have a creature, Goblin. By seeing him you may understand the dangerousness of this creature that is very much visible here on the screen. So, Goblin Market is a narrative poem. It was published in 1862. It tells the story of two sisters and their adventures. One is Laura, other one is Lizzie. So two sisters with the name Laura and Lizzie are there in this poem, in this narrative poem. As you know, narrative poem narrates a story, who are tempted with the fruit by goblin merchants. So the story of temptation is here. Now, when this particular word temptation comes into context, you may be reminded of something else. And that was the temptation that was there before Eve in paradise, when Satan offered her the forbidden fruit. Interestingly, there also we have forbidden fruit. Here also we are going to have forbidden fruit. The difference is that there two characters were Adam and Eve, and here we are having Laura and Lizzie, or Lizzie and Laura. Okay. This is how you may infer that how superficially, how at the upper layer we are having these characters talking of Goblin Market in fruit. At the inner level, in the depth, you may correlate this story with the story of Paradise Lost, with that biblical story. And this is how this can be taken as an allegory. I think that is the only thing that makes this poem more important. Otherwise, the way the language is used, you may be surprised whether you are reading a poem in literature or dealing something else. Okay. So Laura and Lizzie, they were tempted by fruit sold by goblin merchants. Sexual imagery is very apt in this poem, and that's how it was not meant for children. Publicly, Christina Rossetti used to say that no, it is a children poem, but she accepted that this was not meant for children. This is how sometimes people behave in dual character. Leave that. See, in public, Rossetti often stated that it was intended for children and went on to write many children's poems. Since she had to write children poems, so she tried to convey in public that it was for children, but it was not. When it appeared in her first volume of poetry, The name of the anthology by Christina Rossetti was Goblin Market and Other Poems. Anthology actually has several poems by several different poets. So here we are having the collection of poems, and the name of that was Goblin Market and Other Poems. In that collection, this poem was published. It was illustrated by her brother, the pre-Raphaelite artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti. So illustration. The poem was composed by Christina Rossetti. Its illustration, its picture, its cover picture was illustrated by D.G. Rossetti, that you have already seen this picture of these two sisters lying together. So it talks of the adventures of two close sisters with the river goblins. So goblins are known or expected to be found near rivers. So river also has a pivotal role in this section of poetry. Quite young, they live by themselves in a house. So it means these two sisters are living independently, means no parents are there, only two sisters are there in the house. And what do they do near rivers? They draw water every evening from a stream. A stream is a small kind of river. So for their daily needs, they used to draw water from the nearby stream, and at there they met these goblin merchants. As the poem begins, the sisters hear the calls of the goblin merchants selling their fantastic fruits in the twilight. Now see the timing. It's twilight. Twilight is something like dusk, the meeting point of evening and night. In our context, in our culture, people suggest that at that time no good work should be done. Even you should not sleep, you should not eat. So that is not understood as a very good timing. So here, at the time of twilight, we have goblin merchants. They are selling their fruits, and which kind of fruits? Fantastic fruits. So this fantastic suggests how by eating that one may go into fantasy. Now I think you should see this goblin very clearly. It is available obviously on Google. So these are the merchants. See the appearance. Okay. So on this evening, what happens one day? On one evening, Laura, intrigued by their strangeness, lingers at the stream after her sister goes home. This is how, when something bad is going to happen, one tries to be alone, or one has to do some mischief, one wants to be alone. So Laura was intrigued by their strangeness, means the kind of fascination that she started having for them. So she remains there at the stream even when Lizzie departs for home. Lizzie goes, but Laura waits. Rossetti hints that the goblin men resemble animals with the faces like wormcats or cats, and with the tails. So the faces of these goblins are somewhat like wormcat or cats, and they also have tails with them. Longing for the goblin fruits, but having no money, the impulsive Laura offers to pay a lock of her hair and a tear more rare than pearl. That is the uh, exact word, exact words used by Christina Rossetti, that she offered lock of her hair and a tear more rare than pearl. So she offered her lock of hair and tear. She did not have money. She wanted to buy those fruits. So she attempted through a barter system. Barter system, you understand? Nowadays we are having this money system. Whatever we want to buy, we you use money, we give money, and in the exchange of that we get the goods, the things. Initially, when this money kind of thing was not invented, barter system used to take place. Suppose one has to buy a goat, and one was having uh, grains like wheat, so one had to uh, provide that wheat instead of, in place of the goat. You give some grains to the person who is having goat, and you buy that goat, you get that, and you give something else in order to exchange. So that was the barter system. I hope you may remember that poetic play by W.B. Yeats, Countess Kathleen. Do you? Even you may think of that tragedy, Dr. Faustus, by Christopher Marlowe. There also he, bartered his soul to Saturn. Okay, so now this lady, this girl, Laura, she exchanged her lock of hair and tear, more rare than pearl, instead of, in place of that fruit. So she gets that fruit. Once finished, and it's interesting that it is visible here as lock of hair or something like that, but it may suggest something else. That word impulsive suggests her fascination, her over enthusiasm towards those fruits. Once finished, she returns home in an ecstatic trance. So now she is in a very different mood, carrying one of the seeds. So she had some seeds with her after eating those fruits. So having seeds with her means she is having the memory of that eating, or that being with them, being with goblin merchants. At home, Laura tells her sister of the delights she indulged in. So when you are indulged, this particular word indulgence already suggests something. Indulge is mostly used with negative connotations. So delights she indulged in, but Lizzie is full of wise upbringings. Why? Because as in the story of Adam and Eve, we see Adam represents intellect, whereas Eve represents instinct. So here Laura represents instinct and Lizzie represents intellect. So when intellect dominates, instinct is subjugated. But when this instinct comes upward, when it dominates it dominates in the absence of intellect. Instinct always dominates in the absence of intellect. That is why Eve could eat that fruit in the absence of Adam. That is why this Laura could eat fruit, could fetch those fruit in the absence of Lizzie. I hope now you may correlate. So, Uh, Now, when Lizzie hears all sort of the experiences Laura had at the river with the goblin merchants, she is reminded of another girl, Ginny. What happened with Ginny? Who partook of the goblin fruits and then died at the beginning of winter. So, another girl, Ginny, her story is she also tried to have goblin fruits, but what happened later? She died at the beginning of winter after a long and pathetic decline. So, pathetic decline suggests here decline in character, fall in character, and that fall in character publicly, that may suggest the kind of scenario they had in Victorian period. The way, this is how the morality or so-called morality was very much existing there in the Victorian society. How people wanted to be very much moral, at least for showing off. Okay. Strangely, no grass grows over Jeannie's grave. It is understood in Christianity uh, that when somebody is buried in the grave, if the person is good by nature, various plants may grow on his or her grave. That does not happen when the person is bad, when the person's character is fallen. So that suggestion we are having here through this line, that no grass grows over Jeannie's grave. Laura dismisses her sister's worries. This is how instinct many a times dismisses intellect. You may correlate with your own instinct and intellect. How sometimes instinct dominates in us, and how many a times intellect has control over instinct. So Laura dismisses, and not only dismisses, she plans to return the next night to get more fruits. Now she had the taste. She becomes habituated with the first experience even. So she plans to return the next night to get more fruits for herself, and not only for her, for Lizzie as well. The sisters go to sleep in their shared bed. Shared bed is highlighted here, that suggests some homosexual elements. Now, the next day, whatever you plan, it does not always happen, because the Almighty has some different plan. The next day, as Laura and Lizzie go about their housework, Laura dreamily longs for the coming meeting with the goblins. Even in her dream, she is thinking of goblins. This is how the kind of infatuation she is having, the kind of passion she is having. So in dream as well, she is thinking of goblins and their fruits. That evening, however, as she listens at the stream, Laura discovers to her horror that although her sister still hears the goblins' chants and cries, she cannot. Why? Again, be reminded of Saturn. Did Saturn visited again ever to Eve after manipulating her, after providing her that forbidden fruit? No, because Saturn had that intention to exploit her, to exploit the children of God, so that he can harm God. He can uh, he could make God uh, feel lower, since it is very much natural when you have to harm some parents. If you start harming their children, that affects the parents more. Okay, so in other evening, in the next day's evening, when Laura tries to listen goblins, she could not hear their chants, but Lizzie, because intellect is there. So when you are governed by instincts, you become blind somewhat. But when you are governed with your intellect, you may see the things very clearly. So even visibility of the goblins is clear to Lizzie, but Laura is unable to get them. Unable to buy. So when she is unable to get their appearance or existence, she is unable to buy that forbidden fruit. Laura sickens, so she falls ill and pines for it, very much eager to get those fruits that she tested yesterday. As winter approaches, she withers and ages unnaturally. See, the similar condition that Ginny had, that is happening with Laura. Too weak to do her chores. Even she is unable to perform her daily routine. She becomes very weak, and she ages unnaturally. She is becoming older very fast. One day, she remembers the saved seed and plants it, but nothing grows. Now she tries to live with the memory that she had, but that also does not help. She planted those seeds, but nothing happens. In that manner, months pass, and Lizzie realizes that Laura is wasting to death. Now, how our intellect surrenders before our instinct, when instinct is very much dominating. Now Lizzie surrenders. Lizzie realizes that in this manner Laura will die soon. So she tries to help her. Lizzie resolves to buy. She is not going to barter. She is going to buy. Buy some of the goblin fruit for Laura. So for the sake of Laura, Lizzie resolves to go to those goblin merchants to buy the fruits. But she actually doesn't know what that fruit is actually there, what that fruit stands for. Carrying a silver penny, Lizzie goes down to the brook and is greeted warmly by the goblins. So when she visited goblin merchants, to that stream, to that what another word we are having here. So Lizzie resolves to buy some of the golden fruit for Laura. Carrying a silver penny, goes down to the brook. So when she visited that brook, she had a silver penny with her to buy those fruits, and was very, very warmly welcomed by those goblin merchants, because now they are going to have another victim, another prey for them. Prey. So they invited her to dine with them. That she does not accept. But when the merchants realize that she has no intent to eat the fruit, they wanted they wanted that Lizzie too should eat their fruits, which she does not accept and only intends to pay in silver. They realized that she has come to pay them in silver to get those fruits. They attack, trying to feed her their fruits by force. So their only intention was to make Lizzie eat their fruits. And when she does not accept that, when she does not affirm that, they forcefully try to make her eat. And this is how Lizzie is drenched with the juice and pulp but consumes none of it. Yeah, this may remind you of a kind of scene of rape. When such a term comes in your mind, now the whole scene may be interpreted very differently. That is not very much clearly written here in these words, but when I'll talk of the exact words used by Christina Rossetti, you may realize how sexual imagery is very much prevailing here. So she does not consume that in her mouth, but she has those juice and pulp on her body, and that was ultimately eaten by Laura. Lizzie escapes and runs home, but when the dying Laura eats the pulp and juice from her body, the taste repulses rather than satisfies her. This is how it happens when you consume something, some drugs or something, the bad habit of some different sort of things, eating different sort of things for your taste or for your pleasure. When you leave that for some times, and again when you start having them, it may repulse, it may bring repulsive feeling in you. So it repulses rather than satisfies her. She undergoes a terrifying paroxysm. What is paroxysm? Paroxysm suggests the symptoms one has of when someone is suffering with some disease or some sort of illness. They show some symptoms. When those symptoms are very much rampant, very much having a very high intensity, that becomes paroxysm. So highly intensified symptoms are visible now in her body. It means she worsens. But yes, by the grace of God, what happened in next morning, she is fully restored to health. Why? This may remind you of Harry Potter, how he was saved by love of his parents, how their love became a kind of protection for his survival against Voldemort. Now, this Laura is okay, is fully restored to health. The last stanza attests that both Laura and Lizzie live to tell their children of the evils of the goblin's fruits. So they are very good, they are fine, they are there to narrate the story to children. Even now there is no mentioning of any male character here. So how these children will be there in coming future. This is upon you, how you understand this, how you interpret this. But they are surviving to tell their children of the goblins' evils and power of a bond between sisters. How the love of sisters, protected them against those evils, those goblin merchants. This may remind you the scene, the last scene there in Hamlet. How he tells Horatio to tell the story to others. Okay. Critics in the late 1970s viewed the poem as an expression of Rossetti's feminist and homosexual politics. So, feminist approach, feminist behavior is very much visible. Homosexual, as I told you in the picture, even they are sharing the same bed, and the way they are, laying together. Some critics suggest the poem is about feminine sexuality and its relation to Victorian social modes. We have talked about it. In addition to its clear allusions to Adam and Eve, as we have already correlated, forbidden fruit and temptation, there is much in the poem that seems overtly sexual. So critics are having this opinion that even if these all things are there, but the way the language is being used here by Christina Rossetti may suggest you overt sexuality very much prevailing. You may have a glimpse of those examples. For example, when Lizzie going to buy fruit from the goblins considers her dead friend Ginny. When she talks of Ginny, what are the words used by Christina Rossetti? Who should have been a bride, but who for joy's bright hope to have fell sick and died. I don't think that you need interpretation for these lines. Lines like, she sucked their fruit, globes fair or red. Lizzie uttered, when she was caught by these goblin merchants, what happened? Lizzie uttered not a word, would not open lip from lip, lest they should cream a mouthful in, but laughed in heart to feel the drip of juice that syruped all her face, and lodged in dimples of her chin, and streaked her neck with quacked like curd. So you may be reminded of that passionate picturization, as if some, I should not say love making, some, forceful, physical actions in between, males and females are going on. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope now you have a greater idea pre-Raphaelite poetry by this example of Goblin Market. This somewhat reminds me of picturization of experiences by Kamla Das in Indian context, in Indian poetry, the way she talks in my story. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you very much.